Hey everyone, I'm Jay Shear and welcome to another episode of Business Minds Coffee Chat. The goal of this show is to share insights, help to lift and inspire others, and deliver relevant, meaningful, and actionable content. There are many benefits to art and culture, such as bringing communities together, sparking and feeding creativity and imagination, education, promoting tourism, enhancing well-being, enriching our lives, economics, and more. Art and culture are a strategic national resource and remind us of the values we uphold. So, how has the pandemic affected the arts and culture sector? The latest results from an ongoing survey by AmericansForTheArts.org estimate that the economic impact nationally is $5.5 billion. My guest today knows firsthand the importance of arts and the impact this challenging time is having. She's a music education graduate of Florida State University, is earning a master's in performing arts administration from Chicago College of the Performing Arts. She had a nearly 30-year teaching career, including being the director of choral activities. By the way, she has an amazing voice. International baccalaureate music instructor and guitar instructor, and is active in several music and arts associations and alliances. Please welcome the director of the Flagler Auditorium Performing Arts Center, Amelia Fulmer.
Good morning, Jay. I'm so glad to see you and so glad to be here. I didn't expect to be on a business coffee chat this morning, but I'm excited about it. I've been watching and enjoying your presentations, and I'm excited and happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much. I am thrilled that you're here. So let's dive right in. If you would, please share with us your origin story, Amelia, and at what point did you first show an interest in the arts?
Oh gosh, my family was very musical. My mother played piano, my father played guitar, my brother, and that was a Saturday night activity at our home, is to go to the piano and go through all of the guitar. We had books, stacks of books that we would buy from music stores, and we would go through, and if anybody came to the house, you had to perform for them, you had to sing for them. And then in church, I got really involved with church, and I sang a lot in church. And then in high school, I went in choir, and I'll never forget my high school choir teacher. She and I are still friends today. And that was a very life-changing thing for me. I found my place in the world. Became a singer, probably 8th grade. I sang Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue by Crystal Gale in a competition. And my daddy was proud and everybody was proud, and it changed my life, and it became my identity for a while as a singer. And then as I grew older, I wanted to make that part of my life is to lead children and lead people to what music can bring to their lives. And it's kind of just grown from there. Should I continue?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd love for you to continue to connect the dots there. And what was it about the connection to children and wanting to bring that gift to the world through them?
Well, when I was working in church, probably I was a senior in high school, I was asked to lead a children's choir because I could play the piano and I could sing. And, that was an awful lot of fun. And I already knew that it was just something it's who I am. When you sing with someone and you connect with someone, there's just something special. If I've ever sung with you, I've ever seen you and sang a song with you, our connection, that human connection is forever. I mean, there are children in this community that are 38 years old that I taught at Wadsworth Elementary School.
Wow.
And when I see them today, I can still see them on the stage in their costume. And I try not to say anything, but that's what I always feel. I still feel that human connection because that's what music brings us to.
Wonderful. So, and you've somewhat touched on this, but what was your vision for your career early on, and are you living that vision today?
Well, it changed a lot. When I came out of high school, I was a performance major, and I went to national opera competitions. But as I got into that, I realized I didn't enjoy. There's too much it was so much competition. It was not something that I was built for. Music to me was always a zero-sum game. It was something that we always did together, not as a competition. So that was my first year of college at Sets University, and I transferred to Florida State University to become a music educator.
Hmm.
And I decided that was a better place for me at that time. That school was a better place. And I had a lot of opportunities there to work with amazing choral conductors. I got my degree in choral conducting, but then I came to Flagler County, and the job opening there was at Wadsworth Elementary School.
Okay.
And from the very first day, it was a lot. It was very stressful, and I had to push through because you had 6 classes a day, 150 kids a day, and you'd get through with one group and another group was waiting, and you had instruments and recorders and singing, and it was very difficult, I will say, but at 23 I had the energy and the stamina, and I stayed there for 16 years. And for
Wow.
16 years, I taught music, and we did shows. We did shows at the Flagler Auditorium. We had 250 kids on the stage. And so, everything in the life is obstacle leads the way. The more obstacles you hit, the better you end up on the other side. And teaching elementary school was the first year or so, I didn't know if I was going to make it, but I continued to push through. And then when Elena Fitzgerald, who was the chorus teacher at the high school, when she left her position there, I applied and became the choral conducting teacher. And that was starting my career over again. 15 years in, and here I was starting with a whole new level, a different group of kids, but it was still singing, and it was still music, and it was still that human connection. It's just now I had to learn how to connect with teenagers. And that was a whole learning curve in itself. But I enjoyed that very much, and I learned probably a lot about myself over those 16 years of teaching high school. I have friendships and careers. I feel like I'm a part of a lot of careers in music and art and theater,
Mm-hmm.
and even students that have just been successful in other ways, in other careers. Because that working together and learning to collaborate and work as a team and on having a goal, and leading people to that, even especially young people, is life-changing, I believe.
Yeah, no question about it. So you mentioned something, if I'm going to wind back for just a moment to Wadsworth Elementary, and you mentioned about going to the Flagler Auditorium.
Mhm.
Was that your first introduction to the Flagler Auditorium?
Yeah, well, I came here in 1988, and the auditorium was built in 1991. So we were one of the first big performances there, other than the high school. We were one of the first. We brought buses over and filled the stage, and we did It's a Small World After All. And we had costumes. Oh my goodness. We had like 16 different dance groups, and and Nell Brown, who was a librarian at the time at Wadsworth, she was a mentor to me and a guide to me, and she helped me through all that. So I can tell you, I did the artistic part, but I had my own executive director in Nell Brown, so I would like to give her a little kudos to that. And I was a young teacher, and it was at the time, I don't know how the enormity, I truly understood the enormity of what we have in the Flagler Auditorium. But the Flagler Auditorium is I'm very passionate about it because it's given me the tools to do some amazing things with students and create a lot of opportunities and learning experiences that other children do not have in other communities. We're a very unique place.
Yes, it is quite a spectacular facility, which we'll get to here momentarily. So you became the director of the auditorium when?
In 2003, and I will have to say, my life changed in 2014. Um, my husband and I were married for 26 years, and he passed away of cancer in 2014.
Mm.
And at that point in time, it was either give up or move on. I had always been, a mom and a wife. And, basically I looked forward to vacations and cooking meals, and my ambition, I had a lot of ambition as a choral director, but I had kind of settled into that. It was rather habit. So when he passed away and my son was in college, I was, alone. So I had to kind of come up with ways to keep myself busy, but also do some self-reflection as to what's happening next, what's going to be next. And so I started doing a lot of reading,
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot of audiobooks. I lost 60 pounds. I started walking. I started reading. I started really spending time, some me time that I had not really spent a lot of time doing when I was married and doing all the rat race of being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And, I do think that my husband passing away, it was very hard, but it was a very powerful moment in my life. And I think it made me more ambitious. It made me start thinking about the future and believing in what I could be. And I think too, when something bad like that happens with you, you think to yourself, well, what's the worst could happen?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the fear that I used to have for speaking, public speaking, or doing things outside of my comfort zone, I'm like, well, what's the worst could have happened? I've already been through the worst thing that I ever thought I could be through.
Yeah.
And I think my son's done well in his career. And I think a lot of that has to do with too. He and I have talked about this many times. And that's why, my favorite book is The Obstacle Leads the Way, Ryan
Ryan
Holiday.
Holiday.
And that one's great because it really makes you remember when things are hard, that means you're going to be better. And the other book I really enjoyed was The Power of Moments. I can't remember the author right now, but it talks about children, powerful moments in their lives, and how you can change their whole life in something you do in one moment or
Mm.
something you say. And that helped me with teaching, but it also is another reason that I love the auditorium. Because when a child walks out on stage and dances in front of their parents or in front of the community, or they go out and speak, or they go out and sing, there's a feeling of accomplishment that can be life-changing, and it's powerful moments in their life.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be that big. They can be little things, like if you say to a child, wow, I see you have an A in English. Don't try to fool me. You're really smart. Get your guitar out and get to work. That's a powerful moment for them. They remember what you said. And at the same time, we can say negative things too that can be very powerful in each other's lives,
Yes.
especially
No,
with our
no.
people that we work with and students. And I don't mean to preach, but I'm a teacher at heart. But those are two things that I really learned through my experiences. And that's what made me decide to become an arts administrator and go for a master's at 55 years old to try to go into that. I'm not over the speed limit yet, I'm just trying to keep up.
I love that. And thank you also for sharing the story that you did, because it's incredible how transformational change takes place and how we all process information differently, and the challenges that you faced and how you overcame those, and the steps that you took, reading and listening and being surrounded by others that could support your goals and help you work through situations like that. There is a way, and the sun will come up tomorrow,
Mhm.
which leads me to where we are today. So, how are you processing what's happening in the world today? And how has the Performing Arts Center been impacted?
It's We live so much on we don't know, and that's the difficult part. We're trying to plan, we're trying to think ahead, trying to think about what ifs, and what if this happens, what if we open, what if we don't open. The Flagler Auditorium means a lot to a lot of people in a lot of different ways. We have the students that didn't get to perform for the last few months. We were supposed to have the school musical, we were supposed to have dance groups. We've seen a lot of grief. If you've worked all year, you worked for 4 years in musicals
Mm-hmm.
with some of our students at the high school, and you finally got the lead role your senior year, and the whole thing gets canceled. That's difficult. this Flagler Youth Orchestra has over 300 students that go to violin lessons every single week, that go to these groups, and all of a sudden it was gone.
Wow.
So to me, that is our biggest impact for the shows and our patrons. Those are our people. Those are the people we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to know when we're going to be able to come back. We had our season planned out for next year, but we haven't canceled any shows yet. And the reason why is because those are people. You know, when you talk about the Frankie Valli show, that's a band and that's a group of performers that will be coming to sing and dance. When you have the shows that we have planned, you know, shows like Bronx Wanderers or Hotel California, they all have a big following, but you can't just cancel those shows right away. You've got to give some time for those people to think about what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're partners with the agents and we're partners with the touring companies. Those people, some of them come back every single year. So in a lot of ways, they're like family to us. And they come to the Flagler Auditorium because we are a small, friendly theater. We're not like the big theaters, you know, they're on their way there. They might be on their way down to West Palm Beach to the big Kravis Center, you know, but they're going to stop off here to our nice, kind, little friendly theater. So we want to keep that spirit of friendship with them and wait it out a little bit and see what the governor says, see what the environment's going to be. But we are working with risk management from the school system, and we're working with board members, and we're going through a lot of the materials that we have from the National Venues Association.
Okay.
They've worked together with the Department of Homeland Security with pandemic worksheet and trying to figure out, you know, what are the best practices across the nation. Right now, it's very difficult because it's all new to us. You know, it's all the new best practices. There's nothing we can look back and see what did they do the last time.
So are you and the board in regular contact? Are you having weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings? How are you staying engaged today?
We're having our regular board meetings the same way we've always had. We do them on Zoom once a month, and because we're part of the school direct support system of the school, we are actually, our Zoom meetings are open to anyone with Sunshine Law. But right now we're still in a holding pattern. We're building a new website. It should be opening within next week. We're working on a new ticketing system that was just happened to be happening anyway. So there's plenty of work to be done. We're loading in the shows for next season, but we're kind of doing that with careful, not announcing them to everyone yet, because we're not sure of the staff. For instance, Choir of Man is from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And they canceled their show this past year. We postponed it to next year. You know, we're in contract with them to come back, but they're from Australia. So are they going to get on a plane and come here? So we don't know how far we'll be because that's not till spring. So right now we're kind of taking it month by month to see who we can bring in. I feel right now, though, what's most important with the auditorium is to try to figure out how we can get the community back on the road. You know, when you say the show must go on, if we're doing our job right, then the show should be about our community. You know, we should be an anchor for that.
So what do you mean by that? So give me an example of how we can get the community more involved and behind this, and what would that look like to you?
Well, those are the questions I've been asking my board. You know, we need to think about how can we use the auditorium's resources to get us through the next few months, whether it means when we do have space, whether it means offering a space maybe to a group that wants to have a real board meeting. You know, if you think about most boards are 30 people, and you can't put 30 people in a small room, but you can put 30 people in an auditorium, spread them out, and put a microphone on the stage. Maybe we can think about doing things like that. I know just even the little things, all of us that are in cultural organizations, we should be anchors for this community, whether it means going on Facebook and sharing every restaurant that you see, or making comments on every restaurant that you visit. All of those things run our economy, and they're the only way we're ever going to get our show back on the road.
True.
And we have a responsibility, all of the cultural organizations in Flagler County. We have an opportunity to be an anchor for everyone, but we have to reach out, and you guys have to help let us know what we can do to help.
Well, so let's touch on that for a moment, because that's a great point, is the outreach, the communication, and touching the other groups in a community that are involved in arts and culture. So whether it's galleries, whether it's locations that have classes and other types of shows and whatnot, is are you and the rest of the board already reaching out to these other organizations and reaching out to galleries and collaborating and figuring out how collectively do we rise the tide here and help the arts community as a whole?
Well, we've always been there for the arts community with giving grants and general support and trying to help. It's kind of different now of knowing what we can do because most of us don't have programs going yet. What I would like for the arts community, though, is to realize that we are the community. And if we can take our resources and our people and use those people as a way to help us see the relevance of us. A lot of people go to the Flagler County Art League to do art, but the art is just a tool to be together and to share and to be a community. And if you go through every one of the arts organizations, they're not arts organizations. They're not the arts. They are people. And there are people that connect with each other through the arts. And we miss each other. And we call each other and we talk to each other. I've had more communication with board members than I've ever had since these last weeks because we have to communicate this way.
Sure.
So when we say we're reaching out, we should all be doing that as cultural organizations. I don't care, and not considering, well, there's the arts organization and then there's the people of Flagler County, because they're all one and the same.
Sure.
But we have to ask ourselves, how do we use our arts organizations to make our community stronger? And those are the questions for my board now that we're still working through, because we've been kind of internal in that we've worried about our shows and what we're doing. And I think the other arts organizations do that too. If you look through all the grants from the city and all the arts organizations and what they've asked for, they're trying to take care of their programs, and we all present our programs and talk about what we have and what we have for the community. But I think right now is a time that we have to be less internal and more external and say, why do we exist in the community? And why would anybody want to come to our arts organizations? We know why, most of us, but how do we get, and those are questions, when you ask me, is my board doing those things? We are the best we can in this environment with the Zoom, but I think we could do more. And
well,
I think
that's good, because I know that you are looking at different ways of reaching out to others and trying to be as creative as possible on how you can maximize the use of this gym that we have in this community. I'd like you to take just a moment, if you will, to talk about the auditorium, how many seats, and talk about some of the features and benefits of this incredible facility.
Well, the auditorium does close to 100 events a year. We have school performances, you have dance, and you have theater and musicals, and a lot of people. We have served three communities. We have the community, we have the school, and then we have the professional shows that come in. And when the theater was built in 1991, it was built by a board of people that believed that they wanted Flagler County to be a wonderful place to come. It was being built as a retirement community and from ITT, but their thinking was that this would be a place for our children and for the adults. So we've got two ends. We have all ages from 8 to 80 that use the auditorium. They don't always use them at the same time, and the three things don't always connect. That's what I would like to see, is them connect a little bit more. But we have 1,000-seat venue. We have a beautiful, beautiful environment there, and it has been taken care of well. And I feel like, between the governing board and the school system, they've been good stewards of that and updating equipment. We've got a brand new sound system. We just put in a brand new amps for this theater. I'd have to have my technical director here to explain all that to you. But all I know is everybody sounds really good, and the lights are great, and it sounds fantastic. I think the most unique thing we do that's very different is that we use student workers, and the students are trained in technical theater in the Flagler Auditorium. So there are like 100 kids a day in that theater during the school year learning how to use the equipment. And so when a show comes in, like Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis, this is a great story. They came in to do a performance March 12th, right before all of this happened. But the sound was mixed by one of our students on the soundboard. We had the producer from America's Got Talent came with them to produce the show, and he allowed that student to mix the sound.
Wow.
And when it was over, he gave him his card and said, "Give me a call, and let me." I said, "I'll help you out when you get done."
Oh.
So our audio technicians, Jack Nieberlin, and our audio person's Cole Seaver, basically trained this young man to work on the soundboard in a professional way, enough that he was seen as a professional. So other theaters a lot of times use union workers that come in and they load shows in, and you pay them to do that. We have a unique situation in that not all of the shows, but some of the shows that don't require union workers, we have students actually bring those shows. And even the times when we do have union workers, they come and work alongside the students. The students work as volunteers for several years, and then when they've gotten enough hours in the theater, then we pay them. They become stagehands, and they get paid minimum wage for stagehand work. But those kids move on to work all over, from Universal Studios to Miami, and they become union technicians and sound technicians and light technicians and stagehands. And those people do pretty well in this job. So our technical director, he works full time as a teacher, and then he does all the shows as an extra part, the professional shows, the things that you might see as an audience member. And we have the students that go through world-class drama. We have students that are we have students in the Manhattan School of Music. We have students that are working on cruise ships. We have students that work on Broadway. Escape to Margaritaville, David Sotomayor, he was here with Mrs. Fitzgerald back when we first opened the auditorium, and he is now the producer of Escape to Margaritaville, the touring show.
Nice.
And he's been in New York for a while. So, and I could go on. There's probably 35, 50 kids that all work in the industry that came through Flagler Auditorium. And having that kind of space, colleges have spaces like this all the time, but what makes us unique is that we're a high school. And I think sometimes that becomes our weakness as well, though, because we have big time entertainment and very professional entertainment, but sometimes people think, well, that's the high school parking lot, and they don't realize that there's a world-class auditorium in that parking lot.
Well, it is quite a spectacular facility. I've been to numerous shows there, and always top-notch quality entertainment, excellent sound system, lighting, and to know that the students are running this behind the scenes is quite amazing. Before I ask my last question to you, Amelia, where can we go to learn more about you and learn more about the Flagler Auditorium Performing Arts Center?
FlaglerAuditorium.com or .org. I think they're one and the same.
Okay.
We will be launching a new website first of next week, so give us a couple of days by the end of the week.
All right.
Looking forward to that. But you can read about our programs and arts and education. We just gave 8 scholarships to students that graduated from FPC and Matanzas that are going into the arts. So if you'll go over to our Facebook page, that's what's appearing there now, as we've had special, I've got a video coming out today of a student that will tell you about the arts. So make sure you go to our Facebook page at Flagler Auditorium, and so you can hear the latest news of what's going on there. And
Outstanding.
we'll be on the phone with our agents in like another hour. I get on the phone every Thursday with all the presenters in the state of Florida. There's about 100 of them. And we sit on Zoom and we talk about what are we going to do next. So we're in the know about the rest of the state and all of the shows that are coming through and what other people are doing. And we're all putting our heads together to figure out how we're going to keep the show going on. So thank you so much for having me.
Love it. Well, here's my final question to you. So what are the top 1 to 2 lessons that you've learned through all of this that will impact how you show up and lead the Flagler Auditorium?
How I will show up. I have to be positive.
Okay.
I have to be resilient. But we have to be forward looking and we have to look for the silver lining, which is difficult in this environment. But looking for the silver lining makes some of the hard things a little bit less painful.
Great response. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And Amelia, thank you so much for joining us today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be with us, to share with us your story, share with us some of the challenges that you faced, how you've overcome, and the bright future ahead for the Performing Arts Center.
Thank you for having me, and we hope that we see you in that auditorium pretty soon.
Absolutely, as do I. And for the rest of you, thank you so very much for watching. If you found value in this episode, please like and share with your friends. And until next time, stay healthy and optimistic. Keep learning and growing. And remember that transformative change in your life and business always begins with you, and nothing happens until you take action. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time.